Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are getting into sketchbooks and sketching. I had another plan for today where I wanted to do a full piece, but in the end I decided that I didn't spend enough time on the sketch to be 100% happy with it. So I pushed that off, and it reminded me that I would really like to get back into sketching more for fun even. I've found that I pretty much only sketch when I am needing to generate a specific idea. And I really miss the enjoyment I get when I'm sitting down and I don't need it to be something good or something to fit a certain criteria. I have definitely found that when I am not trying to create a sketch that's quality of a finished piece, or it's something that is of high enough value that I can finish it off, I find that it lets me really just explore and enjoy the process. And a lot of times I end up with something that either it sparks a new train of thought that I want to go down with new pieces, or it is something that in the end I am very happy with, even if it isn't going to ever be a finished piece. The fact that it is its own independent thing that I enjoy is always so satisfying. But I've definitely fallen out of sketching for fun lately. Now, I will say I definitely do sketch every single day. That is one of the things that I require of myself every day. I need to be working to get better, but doing things that are just very imaginative and enjoyable, that kind of stuff tends to get put on the back burner very frequently for me. And that's the kind of stuff that gets ideas generating, and I enjoy that the most. And I really just have missed that. I've missed that part of my work process. So I'm trying to bring it back in. Today I actually have a pretty new sketchbook. I think it's from the brand Danica. I liked it because it kind of sounds like my name, but also I realized that I've been using the same sketchbook for a while now, and it doesn't really quite fit exactly what I want out of a sketchbook for several reasons. I've been using a pretty small sketchbook, which I hate. I hate sketching in really cramped paper areas, and the paper itself is a little bit textured, which I don't like when I'm sketching with pencils, and that's usually what I'm sketching with. I usually use my cold erase pencils, so I could never really get in there and add details, and I was always cramped for space. And then I realized that I've been sitting here trying to get through the sketchbook for months, and I'm not happy with it, and I'm not picking it up and sketching in it for enjoyment because it's not enjoyable. So I went out and I got myself a new sketchbook, and I am very happy with this one so far. It has completely smooth pages, which is completely what I want for my sketchbooks. And, well, particularly because I can use my cold erase pencils very well, and I can use my microns, which is something that I really enjoy doing in my sketches, to let myself do a little bit more of a looser version of my inking, but still enjoy that refining process. But yeah, it's so far I've enjoyed the sketchbook. It also has pretty thick paper too, which I like. It feels pretty solid in quality, and I wanted to get a sketchbook that was hardbound. I find that I don't know. I have this weird disconnect with spiral bound, where it feels like they can just tear out and fall away. I like the idea of it being in a hardbound sketchbook because it feels more substantial. But then, of course, when I actually have them and I draw on them and I have the pages that I feel like are just so wrong, I hate having them in my sketchbook. But I think this time around I'm going to try to implement different methods of covering up pages that I really don't like. And I think it'll be really fun to be able to find new ways to make those things work, find new cover-ups. I've seen where people use sticky notes to cover up areas of drawings and then replace it on top of the sticky note, and I love that. There's people who use gouache to cover things up, and I actually do end up using a little bit of gouache in my sketching today. I don't think this paper can take a lot of wet medium, but it did take that first layer of gouache. And I'm just feeling really reinvigorated with getting back into more of a sketching process, to let sketching be my my root of ideas. That is where things are born as far as my inspiration turning into realization, rather than me being put on the spot where it's time to make a piece and I just have to make a sketch that fits that exact thing and I just have to go and I have to make it work right away. So I have had a lot of enjoyment out of this. I do notice that the way that I sketch changes a lot. It revolves a lot around the different things that are happening in my life and the different types of art that I need to create at that time. And a lot of times it's not the way I necessarily want it to be. It's usually just a reaction to what's happening. Like when I was in school, I found that I was sketching a lot more, but it was a lot of mindless stuff because I was sitting in class and I was drawing these things that was just busy work for my hands. So I tried to pay attention to that, and if I'm going to be drawing, I might as well be trying to pay attention to it and draw better drawings while still paying attention to class. But I do notice that it comes in cycles, and it's always important for me to take a moment and analyze what my actual process is at that moment and if it's most productive, if it's what's working the best for me. And I think it's time to retweak it a little bit and get back into spending more quality time with my sketchbook. And I do know that I'll actually end up going back into these pages and filling in around these. I love having really filled up pages. When I was in high school and before that, I used to only draw like one item on a page, and if it wasn't quite working, I would skip that page and move on to the next one. I would draw like a single eye that didn't work, and then I'd move on to my next page. So in the end, my sketchbooks would be almost completely empty because I would brush past these drawings. And I remember having this epiphany where it was this moment that I realized I don't have to only draw one thing on one page. If that thing isn't working, I can draw another thing. And it seems so funny now looking back at it. That's the way that I worked. But now it's really fun to be able to just cram as much as I can into the page. It lessens the blow of certain things not being as good. If I have a drawing that I just don't think is great, if I fill it in with a lot of other stuff around it, it becomes a lot more bearable because it looks like I've just put in work and time to practice sketching. And it's not so important to look at it and see these mistakes in my sketchbook because it's filled up with a lot of benefits too and a lot of good things that I learned. So I do love working that way, of building things up around it and just putting in as much time and effort as I can. And that way each page feels just completely packed with ideas, with skill building exercises that I've done. I went into this final drawing of today not even thinking about using these Copic markers. I actually used it on the mermaid, and I saw on the back that it did bleed through, but it was so minor, but the colors were pretty light, so I didn't even notice it necessarily that much. But I went into this one not even thinking, and of course it bled onto the other side, which is where my first sketch that I did was. So it's good to get to know your sketchbooks as well as you can. That way you know what the restraints are and how it handles different tools that you like to use. So for me, that was definitely a reminder that Copic markers, either I have to be completely prepared for it to bleed through or I need to avoid using them. And I think I'll probably actually go back to that first sketch and just use my Micron pens to add lines to it. That way I can actually see what I drew, because I actually liked that character and I liked where it was going. So I'll revisit that and see what I can do to salvage that side of the paper. And a little point on the mermaid one that I did, that is actually where I used the gouache. So in her hand, I had her holding this crown and these beads, but in the end, the necklace that I had drawn her holding was just really poorly designed, and it just didn't fit with it. In fact, I think the crown itself didn't either, really, but the necklace was particularly terrible in my opinion, and it really brought down the quality of the overall design. And that's the kind of detail that I'm always trying to look for either improvement or to completely cut it out, because things like that, you wouldn't necessarily always think that it would be such a detractor for a piece. You'd think that more elements, more drawing might add to it, but if it's not up there in quality, it will bring the piece down, and that was definitely the situation for that one. So I went back in with my white gouache and covered that up so that it it neatened up the drawing, and it really cleared up the design that was happening. And that is it for today. I would love to hear from you guys what your favorite way to sketch is, what things you like to draw the most, what tools you like to use. I'm always fascinated by the differences that different artists like to work and how that process comes out. But that is about it for me today. I will be back Wednesday with my next video. And don't forget to check out my art shop if you're interested. There is a link down in the description. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.